What's up, YouTube? This your boy Jimmy Belcher. This video right here, we got your girl Milagrogramz, I think that's her name, and academics, and they talking about the Megan and Tory case. But hey, enough of the intro. But while you at it, don't forget to share, subscribe, and like. So let it be written. So let it be done. Hey, check this fucking video out.
EJ packed the bags in Kylie's home. They said, who put the bags in the car? Kelsey said, me and EJ put the bags in EJ's car. They said, did Megan agree to leave at that point? She said no. At some point, she said Megan told us that we was going with Tory. So they had to move the bags from EJ's car at that point to Tory's car. Okay. She says, when we got in the vehicle to leave the very first time, which means Tory did not go with them, that they left with the driver and EJ left as they left. And so she said there is absolutely no doubt that Tory stayed at the home with Kylie and that everybody left at the same time in the vehicles. They said, so anyone, and this will be Megan because that's who said it. They said, so anyone saying that EJ was gone already, so that they basically needed to ride with Tory. Anybody that said that EJ was gone already, they lied. Kelsey said yes. They said anyone saying that y'all only left once lied. She said yes. Okay. We go to Tory in the pool, Tory in the swimming pool. They say, how long was it before, once y'all left, did y'all come back to Kylie's house? She said, I don't know how long it was, but it was a short amount of time. They said, whose idea was it to go back to Kylie's house? Megan's idea. They said, why? They said, because Megan said that she had left a slipper. They said, were there any comments about Kylie and Tory in the house? Did Megan make any comments about them when she got in the car? She said Megan was in the front seat, so she didn't see her expression to know, maybe the look on her face and her reaction, and it was dark and late. But all she did say, or something she said was, he want to stay there with Kylie. That's what she said. So they go back to Kylie's home. She said Megan the only one, that wanted to go back. Then they said, did she have a slipper with her when she came back and got in the car? She said, I don't know. They said, did she come out with Tory? She said, not necessarily at the exact same time, but back to back. So if Megan came out first, then Tory came out shortly after. And so...
And let me ask you a question. Is she answering quickly? Is she unsure?
We're finally getting the yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. At this point, because it did start happening again with I don't remember shit, but we just ain't got there yet. So they said, okay, let's go to the statements. They said the time to go statement, Kylie kicked them out. And she said, yeah. And so they said, let's go to the seat arrangement. And then she outlined where everybody sat, which we already know. Tory and Kelsey sat in the back. Megan sat in the front passenger. Kelsey was right behind her. Quan was in the driver's seat. All right. They go to when they met. Go over that again. Met Tory early 2022, and they became more than friends. Kelsey said she had never seen Quan before that night. And they established that, that Quan isn't even his primary security. And so they said, is it true, basically, that Megan wanted you to be nice to Tory and that she set y'all up? And she said, yes, and it grew to something sexual, basically. They had a sexual relationship. They said, was the argument in the car about Tory not leaving the party? Kelsey said, yes. They said, and then at some point, did you jump into that argument to defend Megan? She said, yes, I did, because she was my friend at the time. Okay. They said, then Tory interjects and said, well, tell her the truth then. Okay. And then they said, well, how did he say it? They said, basically, he said that they were having a relationship. And they said, how did you feel about that? She said, I was confused and I was upset. They said, did you get mad and argue with Megan? She said, yes. They said, is this why Megan wanted to be let out of the car? She said, yes. They said, did you see her sit at a bus stop? She said, yeah, I did. And that she was in her bikini. They said, who went to her and convinced her to get in the car? She said, Tory went over there to her and spoke to her. And then they got back in the vehicle after that talk, and they got in the same seats. When they got back in, they said, did y'all continue arguing? She said, yeah, we picked right back up. And I told Megan that she backdoored me. And they said, how did you feel at that time? She said, I was still upset, you know, when she got back into the vehicle. She had backstabbed me multiple times at that point, and I was angry. And then they said, and the argument, you know, continued after that. They said the argument leaving was about when y'all left that bus stop. So after this first stop that y'all make, they said, was that argument when y'all got back in about Megan sleeping with Tory? She said, yes. They said, was the primary argument about her backstabbing you? Is that what this argument was about in the vehicle? Kelsey said, yes. They said, were you hurt? She said, yes. And they said, and you gave a couple of names of other instances of her backstabbing you. They said, she said, yes. They said, but we're not going to say their names. You know, before they said Ben Simmons and the baby. They said, we're not going to say no names, but isn't it true that, you know, you were hurt and that you said, yeah, you backdoored me with such and such? She said, yes. And I said one name of a person that she had backdoored me with. I'm going to use, you know, my brain and take an educated guess and say that maybe the baby is the person in question. Okay. I'm inferring, but that's what I think. She said, I did say one name when I told her this ain't the first time you did it. They said after the first betrayal from Megan, did y'all remain friends and did you remain her assistant? Kelsey said, yes, I did. Okay. They said the car stops and you and Megan get out? She said, yes. They said, Kelsey, this is defense. Was there a physical fight with Megan? Tell the truth. She said there was alcohol. I don't know. They said, I understand that, you know, there were drinks and y'all were under the influence, but did you two fight? Was there a physical altercation? Kelsey said, we probably bumped each other. That's what the girl said. She said, we probably bumped each other. And so they said, what do you mean? Y'all probably bumped each other. She said, you know, I was under the influence. I don't know. They said it was more than bumping, correct? Y'all were yelling and screaming outside of the car, correct? She said, correct. So they said you and Megan were yelling outside of the car. She said, I don't remember. They said, well, y'all still arguing when y'all got out the car. She said, I got out, you know, at the same time as her, and I was still confused. They said, you were upset and angry? She said, yes. They said, was there anything more than y'all bumping each other? She said, I don't know. I don't remember. They said, you understand that you have immunity? She said, yes. She said, was there more? He said, was there more than arguing that took place? There was an objection for asking, you know, the same question. They moved on. They said, how close were you with Megan before that night? She said, we were close, always together like sisters. I had been out there for 2 weeks before the incident, and we were living together, you know, before all of this. They said, you know, whenever we would travel, we would either make hotel arrangements or we would get an Airbnb. We always stayed together. We were really close. They said, how did you feel about being betrayed? She said, you know, I would feel how anybody felt. You know, I felt bad. I felt betrayed. They said, when you got out of the car, did you hear anybody say dance, bitch? She said, I don't know where that came from. No. They said, did you see Megan when you got out the car? She said, I don't know. They said, did you walk to the front or the back of the car? She said, I don't recall. He said, when y'all got out and y'all bumped each other, was that at the front or the back of the vehicle? She said, I don't know if me or her were walking to the back. She said, I just remember the bump. They said, do you remember you and her walking to the back of the car? Kelsey said, yes. So if we stop even right here, how in the fuck did Kelsey and Megan, or even Megan, let's go to Megan's story. How in the fuck did Megan get out the passenger seat, hear dance bitch, walk around to the front and get shot? But now we're acknowledging that y'all last got out the vehicle, and you know why they walked to the back, to get their fucking luggage. Y'all was walking towards the back of that shit, but y'all was arguing. Y'all got out there. Y'all ain't walked to no damn back of the car. Y'all got out that motherfucking car and lined that shit up. That's what the fuck y'all did. Talk about it. Ain't nobody fucking dumb. But anyway, they said, do you remember you and her walking back of the car?
By the way, Meg also said that she never saw a bump till she seen Tory and Kelsey. She never acknowledged bumping
at all. She said she did not
Kelsey
see
herself.
Kelsey. Now this is changing. They said, did the bump happen at the back of the car? Kelsey said at first, yeah. They said, did Megan turn around and go towards the front of the car? She said, yes. They said, Kelsey, was there a fight? This is when Kelsey hesitates. And she said, I don't remember. They said, since the incident and when it happened, Jilly, Megan's manager, picked you up, right? She said, yeah, Jilly was going to see Megan, and I hadn't seen Megan since then. And then she corrected herself and said, well, the last time I saw Megan was when she helped me with my living arrangements. But we still never got a date for when the fuck that happened. So then they go to September 2022. They said, were you being truthful in September 2022? Oh, no. They said, is it true that you weren't being truthful in September? And she said, yes, true. I wasn't being truthful. They said, did you tell the prosecution what they wanted to hear to be done with this? She said, I told them what I wanted. I wanted to be out of this. And then they said, you lied about a lot in those transcripts. And she said, yes. They said, did you lie about who the shooter was? She said, I didn't see the shooter. All right. Now we do a redirect, and Kathy Ty is back up there. Kathy shows the message that Kelsey sent to Justin. They said, did you send this in the car? She said, yes. And they said, why? They said, she said, because I was in a panic. They said, when you were panicked, why did you blame Tory? She said, because I assumed after I heard some shots. And she said, there were only 4 people in the car, right? She said, yeah. And then they said, so you knew she had got shot, right? She said, Megan's team told me she stepped on glass. They said, Megan didn't shoot herself, right? They said, I don't think so. Kids said, I don't think so. They said, Jaquan wasn't in a fight, right? They said, no. They said, you didn't shoot Megan, correct? She said, no. They said, so is that why you assume that Tory did it? She said, yes. They say, were you panicked when you sent Megan pictures of this bruise? And they pull up these different photos. So all of those photos that we saw of Kelsey with injuries on her and the bald patch in her head, Megan sent that to the prosecution because Kelsey texted this to Megan. So they said, were you panicked when you sent Megan these pictures? She said, no, but I was confused. They said, you sent all these photos to Megan, right? She said, yes. They said, were you panicked? She said, no, I was confused. So they pull up some text messages that allegedly were between her and Megan. They said, do you remember these text messages to Megan? She said, I don't remember it, but I see it. And they said, you don't remember sending this to her? She said, you're showing me, but I don't recall. They said, did you send any of these to Megan? She said, I do not believe that I sent that to Megan. She said, maybe I had that conversation. She said, but I do not remember sending that to Megan. She said, Megan wasn't talking to me. So she said, I don't remember texting Megan after that. So they said, these text messages where you say that you wanted to go to the urgent care because your head was hurting and all this other shit, because that's what the messages said. The messages said that she was asking the person, should I go to urgent care? You know, my neck hurt, my chest hurt, my head hurt, you know, all this other shit. Should I go? And then she said, it brings back thoughts about me wanting to go to urgent care, but I do not remember sending that to Megan. I do not remember having that conversation with Megan that you're showing me. I don't think that these messages are between me and Megan. They said, you said that you had neck and chest pain, right? She said, yeah. All right. They said, in your back and everything was hurt, right? Kelsey said, you're trying to make me remember something I don't remember. Okay? So they move up. They said, Detective Stogner, didn't he leave you a voicemail in 2020 in August, which is the same month that Megan went live and confirmed Tory was the shooter? She said, no, I don't remember that. They said, do you remember answering the phone for him? He said who he was and you hung up in his face. She said, no. They said, you had a lawyer, and they named the lawyer. And she said, yeah. But then she said, no, the man whose name was Dominic. She said, he wasn't ever my lawyer. He was just somebody I basically consulted with. And so Kelsey said, when you reached out to me, I would forward it to him. And so they said, you weren't ready to speak back then. She said, no. They said, when we met in September, before you got subpoenaed, you knew that our interest, you knew that we were interested. That wasn't the only time that we were interested in talking to you. You knew, like, we want to speak to you then. And did we threaten you? She said, you guys didn't threaten me. They said, before you spoke to us, were you ordered to come back to court? Kelsey said, yes. They said, so you knew that even if you came in to speak to us, that this wouldn't be over. Like, you knew you still would have to deal with this. And she said, yes. They said, Kelsey, why did you say that you felt pressured? She said, I felt pressured because of all of the calls from you guys. She said, the knock on my door when I got subpoenaed. She said, me getting pressured on social media and all of that. She said, y'all didn't threaten me, but I absolutely felt pressured to come in and talk to you guys. They said, you said you only came to talk after learning about our defense and the finger quite possibly being pointed at you. She said, are you talking about the gunshot residue? They said, when did you learn about the gunshot residue? She said, I don't know. They said, weren't you accused? And this is the defense. Though the defense then came back to talk to her now. The defense said, weren't you accused of shooting? No, this might be prosecution. Yeah, that's not the recross. I'm so sorry. Prosecution said, weren't you accused of shooting Megan? And you said that you felt like that was a ridiculous accusation in September. She said, yeah, it was ridiculous. They said there were rumors that Megan stepped on glass, right? She said her team told me that she stepped on glass, and I believed them. They said, you've remained consistent that you didn't shoot Megan. She said, yes. They said, did you shoot Megan? She said, no. They said, you know you have immunity, right? She said, yeah. Okay. Now the defense comes up to do another recross. They said, you know that you have use immunity, and you're aware that you can still commit perjury and be prosecuted for perjury. She said, yes. They said, are you aware that a witness named you as the shooter? Objection immediately. It was sustained. I don't know why the fuck we can't hear about it, but what damn witness? And there was someone who looked to Tory. They said he even looked surprised by that. I don't know if it truly was or what the hell was going on, but I've never heard that a witness said that Kelsey is the person that shot. So I don't know what's up with that, but I would have loved to have heard more. So they moved on because he said sustained. They said, when did you find out about the gunshot residue? And she said it was way after July 2022. They said, didn't you hear about a witness? She said, yeah. They said, did my client ask you to leave? Or were you pulled out of the car by your hair? Or what happened? How did you get out the car? She said, me and Megan just got out. They said, do you recall these words? I'm taking shots at you. Bitch, I'm busting you. She said, what? They say, do you remember these lines? I'm taking shots at you. Bitch, I'm busting you. They had to pull up the lyrics on Rap Genius to read them again so that they could, you know what I'm saying, make it make sense. And so she said, yeah, I said that. They excused her at this time. They were done with Kelsey in the line of questioning. They said, the judge told Kelsey, there is a very remote chance that we will call you back, but it is a possibility. Yeah, Henny shots. This is ridiculous. Oh, that's some light liquor, Casa, whatever it is. Yeah, that time of day. Casamigo. That time of day. They said, Kelsey, you know, we're done. And Kelsey.
I heard Meg went through like 3 of these. No cap.
Kelsey couldn't get her ass up out of there fast enough. She was shuffling and getting up out of there. So that was it with her. That was done with her. Then they call up the next witness. This is the detective from Hollywood LAPD who is in the, he's a detective. They pull him up and they say, do you look at social media in cases? He said, yes. They said, did you look at social media in this case? He said, yes. They pull up a post from the Shade Room. The Shade Room, what they missed said, look at y'all ass. They didn't reposted what Lil Ju made the beat. Megan producer. On December 13th, he got this message. This was 2 damn days ago. So the post is from September 2020. They didn't.
Wait,
the actual post that was made was from.
I know that's. I remember that post. But when did they get this?
They gave it to the detective on December 13th. That was 2 days ago.
Huh?
More sloppy ass fucking work. More desperation. Yeah, literally. And this was the post that said, this little goofy ass nigga said that he ain't shoot Megan. You know? They said, so we're looking at the message now. We're looking at the post. And so you got Lil Jume the beat at the top. And a user comes in and says, people say that Kelsey shot her. And Tory said, that's not true. Prosecution said, who owned that page? He said, Tory Lanez. They said, can you explain the blue check to us? They said that's a verification badge, which is supposed to mean that the page is authentic. He went over the types of people that could get a verification badge and all that bullshit. They said, how many followers does Tory have? He said 11.8 million and counting. They said, so Tory said Kelsey didn't do it? He said yes. That's when the prosecution said, okay, we're done. Defense comes up. When I tell you defense told his ass up, I shit you not. They said, I noticed that you said you got this on December 13th. That was just 2 days ago. He said, have you been on this case? He said, I assisted the primary officer, who was Detective Stogner. He said, but I wasn't, just a part of it like that all the way through, but I assisted him in the beginning. And other than that, they brought this to me on December 13th. They said, you look at celebrity and athletes' accounts all the time? He said, yes. He said, do public figures have people who run their accounts? He said, yeah, you could say that. He said, are you trying to say that my client posted that on Instagram? He said, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. He said, is this the only post that you looked at? He said, yes. They said, do you know anything about Tory posting that he doesn't run his social media? He said, no. So they pulled up a screenshot from Instagram. And I don't know if you guys here are familiar with Mid Jordan, but Mid Jordan is a photographer for Tory. I don't know all of what he does, but I do know that he does that. He takes dope-ass pictures. Mid actually went on social media and said verbatim, I'm the only person with access to Tory's account. Y'all want to believe all kind of shit so bad. I'm the only one with access. They said, do you see what Mid Jordan said? He said, yes. And they said, do you see that Tory Lanez liked the post? Yes. They said, did you look into any other posts by Tory? He said, no. They said, do you know who controls Tory's accounts? No. They said, did you try to find out? No. They said, why not? They said, because I didn't think it was relevant. They say, ain't it your job to look into things and investigate? He said, yes. He said, so couldn't you have checked the IP address? He said, you know what an IP is, right? The man said, yeah, I do know what it is. He said, so couldn't you have seen who posted that by trying to trace the location or anything? Like, did you see who posted it? Yeah, cheers. He said, no. They said, why didn't you feel that it was relevant per the...
Nah, Tory, hold on.
He going crazy. When
Tory
I say he
going
ate
crazy.
his ass up, he was eating his ass up. I don't know what Armenians like to eat, but that nigga was feasting on that ass. He was. And it was going back and forth just like that. And he was giving him that energy. It wasn't even the way I'm saying it, he ain't said it like that. He was saying, why didn't you feel the need to investigate? Isn't it your job to investigate? Like, he was being short with that nigga. So he said, why didn't you feel like it was relevant per the task given? No. I'm sorry. They said, did you see who posted this? He said, no. And he said, why? The man answered and said, I didn't feel that it was relevant per the task given. They said, oh, what task were you given? He said, to see who said it. He said, no, you're supposed to tell us that he did. They said, are you neutral? He said, yeah. They said, are you trying to help detect police officer Stogner? He said, no. He said, you got this 2 days ago and you were sent here to tell us who wrote this, but you don't know who wrote it? He said, yeah. Okay. He said, I'm done. They do a redirect. They said, were you here to say that I'm here? He said, did you ask for any other messages or posts? He said, no. They said, we done with your ass. Get the fuck up off the stand. That was the damn detective's testimony about his lackluster ass performance when it came to researching what the fuck the prosecution thought was going to be another nail in the coffin. So then we pulled up Stacey Vandershaft. Stacey Vandershaft is a criminalist who focuses on trace analysis. So this is the woman they brought in as the gunshot residue expert. She stated that somebody could get gunshot residue on them if they're within at least 18 feet of the gun going off, 18 feet, or being touched and all that kind of shit like that. And then she went over in great detail, gunshot residue, how it works, what she does when she's breaking it down, and the software that they have, and a very knowledgeable woman about that. And so she went over all of that. They said, what's the furthest that you've seen particles travel? She said, studies have been done, and the max that I've read, per my knowledge, is 18 feet. They said, your work here, what did you do? She said, I examined 3 gunshot residue kits. For Kelsey, only 3. Megan was never tested. Kelsey, yeah. Kelsey, Tory, and Jaquan. They said, was Daystar Peterson's sample positive? She said, yes. They said, was Kelsey's gunshot residue report, was it positive? Yes. Yes. It was on her hands. They confirmed that Kelsey had gunshot residue on her hands. I want to tell you something. Huh? Yeah. What I want to tell you is the defense and their cross. I don't know what happened, but they had a moment to do something that just would have really, really, really set the shit off. And I don't know if they can bring her back. I don't know. When that man that is representing Tory got up there, he asked a really good question. He said, are you aware that people in your profession can count the particles, and we can basically quantify who would essentially have more gunshot residue on them than someone else? She said, yes, I'm aware of that. They said, does the person who shoots the gun have more residue on them? She said, basically, yes. They said, this man said, who had more gunshot residue on them? She said, I need to refer to my notes. Can I do that? For whatever fucking reason, he went to something else, and she never answered the question. We do not know who in the fuck had more. That was the opportunity to get a fucking answer. That was like the best fucking question in the world. I don't understand why he deviated from that. I don't know. You know, I'm sure there's a rhyme and a reason, but I would have let that girl look in that damn notebook like she was doing. She said, let me look. Let her look, and let her tell you who had more. The fuck? But we never got a fucking answer. Never. So they said, you took a sample from her hand. Is it possible that Kelsey could have shot that gun, and that Tory ran over to try to stop her, and that he could have gotten gunshot residue on him? She said, yes, that is possible. Absolutely. They said, was there any gunshot residue on Jaquan? She said, no. No. All right. They said, in most cases, you know, do you get a property report that just outlines certain things? And she said, I do sometimes, for the most part, get these property reports, but I do not get to look at investigative reports and all that kind of stuff. She said, my job is to find out about this residue and the science behind it. It's not my job to look over reports and do all of that shit. And so they said, did you get one in this case? She said, no. Then we go into the cross. They said, did you talk about and go up? They talked to her about going over the reports and the analysis. They said, do you have any knowledge of blood trails? And they tried to object, but they said, no, let her answer. She said, actually, that's one of the things I was doing before I got into this. She said, I did have to do work about blood trails and stuff like that. Not extensively, but she did. And so they said the placards would show when they place them, when police place them, it would be able to outline the trail. It's supposed to show you like the path. And she said, you know, but yeah, essentially that's what it's going to show you, which he left it there. But if we go back, we never got a blood trail. Those police officers put interview cards right there on the ground and showed us one picture of blood. And they outlined the first day that they could not confirm a blood trail at all. They did not label it properly. They have no evidence of that or anything. More sloppy detective work from the LAPD. So they said, did you get a property report in this case? And she said, maybe, but for whatever reason, I did not make a copy. I didn't find it relevant or valuable to me to make a copy of it. So I don't have a copy. If I got one, then it was with the information, and I, you know, sent it back the way I would do it regardless. And so they say, okay. After that, they were done asking questions from her. And he said, we He said we done with this for the day. He said we are more or less on track, and we may be done with this, concluding this Friday or Monday.
Wow. Why so quick? I thought Tory was possibly trying to call Kylie, was trying to call Corey Gamble, was trying to call Sean Kelly, and maybe even in a weird, and maybe he would testify himself.
The longest person
are they really
was
like
Kelsey, because of the way that went. On day one, we got through 5 fucking people. And today we got through 3. We got 4 maybe. 4. Kelsey, the detective, the lady, so maybe 3. So if they keep on pace at this point without the kind of quote unquote hostility and the not remembering shit and all that, then we could actually get through quite a bit. We start on time, finish it, get those people in, and I feel like we could be done. What else? I mean, they do their closing. What else we got to talk about? They don't have no more evidence. I mean,
well, we got to get to closing. We got to get to Tory's people, and now we got to I saw that Detective Stogner could be testifying, so we got to get to the detective.
Brought him in yet, but he could.
The Detective Stogner, possibly. Corey Gamble, possibly. Mm-hmm. Sean Kelly, possibly. And then here's the thing. I was talking to Lawyers for Workers. He said I don't know. I got to talk to him again. Maybe his mind changed. But after yesterday, he thought that Tory should testify to just really nail this home. But I think not. But maybe he does. If he does, I can't see him. He's probably going to be up there a while.
I don't know if it's a good idea for him to get up there. But if he would be balanced, and if he would speak to certain things and tell the truth about it and just be clear and concise, it could work in his favor. It could. If he got up there and said, I was wrong for sleeping with those 2 women and doing that and bringing that up. And if he maybe, went maybe that way, maybe. But I don't know if that's the best idea.
Drive the narrative back to what the defense opening was, that, hey, basically something that my client's only guilt is that, he was probably not the best of man in terms of dealing with 2 women and being truthful, and maybe he was playing them against each other. But when it came to violence, my client was not a violent individual that night. If Tory gets up there and delivers a testimony like that, which would obviously have to hinge on what happened when he showed up at the party, what'd you see? What happened in the car? What escalated the argument? Why did you, if you ever did get out the car, why did you get out the car? Why did the women get out the car? Where there's a fight? Did you try to break up the fight? Were you inciting the fight? Were you part of the fight? I think all these things are really important. And honestly, I'm going to be honest with you right now. If I'm scoring this, again, I keep saying like a boxing match, I think Tory's up too much.
It's too much doubt
to do it.
Believe what you want to believe. It's too much doubt. It wouldn't be reasonable.
It's too much doubt. Again, I went into all of this by saying this. Do people care about who really pulled the trigger, or do people care about if this is a good case? Those are 2 different things. We might never know who pulled the trigger. But this case
trash.
Trash.
This is one of the sloppiest things I've ever seen in my fucking life. For people to supposedly have so much money and to have so much backing and to have just supposed to be these bomb ass lawyers and all that. This was sloppy as fuck.
Hey, put it like this, and salute to Tory's lawyer. I'm probably fucking up his last name, Medeshin or whatever his name is. But hey, put it like this. If you're going to bring up somebody's social media post, especially this last minute, and by the way, it was probably not in discovery or whatever the case, but you're bringing it up now. You know what me as a defense attorney is going to know? You haven't hit Instagram with a subpoena to actually get record of, okay, when was this posted? What's the IP on it? And that's why they just shredded that detective or whoever it was. Hey, you're basically acting like somebody who's a commenter on the Shade Room or Academics page, and you're acting like whatever you see, you're going on face value. That don't work in a court. That's bullshit.
It does not work.
Everything What I'm hearing
Yeah,
is straight desperation.
that's exactly what it is.
Desperation. It's sad.
And y'all just gave him this 2 days ago. That's last minute effort shit. And he didn't even seek out any other information. And he literally said that wasn't the task I was given.
Hey, desperation, but also I'm telling you, put it like this. I guarantee when talking about the anything that was contradictory when it came to the Gayle King interview, or maybe the live that Meg did, or even the live that Kelsey did, I'm guaranteed they didn't play that in full. If I'm Tory's lawyer, I would say, listen, why do we have to play the entire 80-minute clip of her talking to the prosecutors? We should find the relevance in it, and then we should play that. Because y'all didn't play the whole thing where, everybody's being performative before we get in court. And also for everybody, again, you are talking to law enforcement, or, you're talking to the prosecutor, or maybe a detective, but you're not under oath. So again, you're going off your memory. Again, as long as you're not planning and making an effort to lie to the detectives, if you didn't remember, you're not going to be charged for your statements. It's not the same thing as what could happen in a court of law when it comes to perjury, where it's like, hey, if your memory is hazy, don't make it up. You know what I mean? So I'm now wondering, hey, listen, the prosecutor is desperate. They're trying to get 80 minutes of audio. So think about tomorrow when you go in. 80 minutes of audio, we got to listen to this bullshit?
Right.
Nah. Tory's lawyers got to this up a little bit. But I don't think Tory takes a stand at all. Fuck that. You take the stand.
They'll do what they want to do, but I don't think they need.
This case,
don't fuck it up.
Has erupted. If anything, that prosecutor should be thinking like this. We lost this bitch. Well, we tight. So if anything, we're going to try to get everybody on some perjury charges because something fucked up.
Yeah.
They sent us on a dummy mission. We look stupid as the district attorney's office for LA County. What the fuck did you go in court where Meg is saying she's selective, she's not really doing what she needs? I mean, she did do enough, but again, she didn't see shit, or really, it's not even what Meg said in court, it's what Meg said out of court. Meg gave so much caveats on social media, you couldn't use her as the strongest witness. She's not an eyewitness. She's just a material witness and also the victim. Now you got Kelsey. Kelsey's supposed to be the eyewitness. She's supposed to be the star. Oh, I seen Tory pull a gun. I was telling him, yo, chill. Listen, after he shot her and he was walking up, I jumped in between them. He punched me in my face. Kelsey comes and says, Cap, that never happened. And if I told y'all that, y'all is because y'all were pressuring me because really, y'all want to get Tory.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about Tory.
Yeah.
Who could actually vote once this goes to the jury? Who could vote that this is 12 people that's going to say Tory guilty? What the fuck? I'm telling you, I guarantee the DA at this point is only looking for, hey, who's gonna perjure themselves.
It's over.
This is over. And by the way, at this point, do you even need Kylie?
But wait, all we finna do is I guess going to overtime and Tory gets more points. Because I mean they gonna reiterate and speak to EJ gonna come and speak to Megan's attitude. Corey can come and speak to why in the hell, people got put out. So this is that's the nail in the coffin with these witnesses.
This shit is sad. And unfortunately, I think the prosecutor is going to be mad at the fact that they're going to be mad at Kelsey and Tory. No, not Kelsey and Tory. Kelsey and Meg. They're going to look at Meg and say, Meg, why you ain't tell us there's this much holes? Why did you basically act like we could have probably won this shit?
Right.
And I'm pretty sure, a lot of people are thinking like, my man Whack 100, he actually says that Meg's going to be charged. Right. No way. You look too crazy. You can't charge.
Now, what happens? Megan might not get charged, but when Tory walks away from this, because that's what I'm manifesting, let's talk about the lawsuit that should come after that. Let's talk about defamation. Let's talk about all these outlets and what they said about him. Let's talk about the bias and the prejudice.
Hey, unfortunately, I think because at the end of the day, the judge is going to still rule that no matter what happened, even if Tory is wrongly accused, Meg is still a victim. And because Meg is still a victim, I don't think that there will be nothing punitive happens to her. The only thing that will happen to her is that people will believe her less because she got up on Instagram and said, Tory shot me and I want to see that bitch ass nigga beneath the jail. So you have the court
of public opinion.
The court of or the court of public opinion. Those people will, they'll vote with their, lack of support or their voice to say, hey, we're not fucking with Meg. But I'm just thinking about Meg being a victim. The DA looks crazy already. The DA's not going to fuck with that. And by the way, if Tory brought, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think Tory's bringing any civil suits. I think if Tory brings a civil suit, it will look a little bit away. And unfortunately, we live in a country where a man could be accused of whatever for 2 years, and you could have your career threatened. You could have your livelihood taken away from you. And if you end up being found not guilty, you better be just happy that you're not in jail. There's no punitive action. If you sue Meg, they're going to look at you and be like, well, she's still a victim. You're still a piece of shit. You didn't do enough to protect
you feel like it's
I don't think nothing comes out of that.
That's an interesting perspective. Okay. I feel like he should sue the shit out of all of them. I won't give a fuck what they said. Run me my fucking money for almost 3 years of playing with my motherfucking name. They had cut out a little bit. No, I was just saying, that's an interesting perspective. But I would come after all their asses. After almost 3 years of playing on my motherfucking name, you hoes gonna give me at least $1. Hell no. I'll be right on her ass. Yeah, fuck that.
I agree.
But I can also
agree.
see the benefit in wanting to be done with this shit and just bye, bitch. I'm over it. Bye. I don't want to be associated anymore.
Hey, I agree. Listen, I think Tory has an amazing case for lost wages. It's just that, put it like this, how does it play, whether in court or how does it play in actual, society? Again, if this was Meg doing something to Tory, Meg's career wouldn't have got canceled. Tory's did. So if we're thinking that if he sues Meg or he sues Rock Nation, people are going to be rooting for him, it won't be as much people as I think that people were, again, people thought this was the issue they could hang their hat on to say, hey, we don't support black women being, hurt, and nobody does.
Right.
Even me, I don't support that. But people thought this was the quintessential case to say, yo, a black woman got hurt, and we're going to make sure justice is served. Now that everybody's seeing, oh, maybe it's not as simple as we thought, everybody's backing up. You get what I mean? And unfortunately, I think if Tory does want some type of, action where he could probably get, compensated for what he's lost, they're still going to look at him and be like, well, she was hurt. And that's just the reality of society. We all got to deal with it.
You know how shit goes. I just, I think that if Kelsey would have gotten up there and said, he did this to me, he did that, then I think that would have been it. If Kelsey would have said, I sent these pictures to Megan because Tory abused me, and if she would have testified the way they thought she was, I could see that fucking jury trying to convict my boy. But at this point, bitch, please. Done.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, I do believe that I thought Tory was going to take the stand, but just because Kelsey was going to say some shit, I'm like, yo, you can't find the driver, and you got the only two people that they can find saying you did something or they believe you did something, bro.
Yeah,
you got to be fighting right now. Shut up and laugh at the prosecutor for fumbling.
This is one of the biggest fumbles in history. After all of the money that has gone into the press, up like, oh yeah, protect black women with Malcolm X playing in the back and all this other bullshit. Y'all done did all of this shit to get here all this time later and not be prepared. This is some of the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen in my fucking life. And I heard that, Kathy Ty, of course this is a rumor and speculation, but I heard that she was given this case and did not even want it. That everybody is whispering about how this case was a setup from the jump and it was never solid. They said that nobody want this fucking case. I could never, confirm that, but I feel like that's fucking interesting. I can see it. They over there fighting for their lives. They're
Okay.
sitting there drowning.
Okay, so we're looking at tomorrow. After tomorrow, we are looking at what is it? So after tomorrow, we're looking at possibly Monday and maybe Tuesday. We could probably be at deliberation for possible verdict.
As we were closing, said we are
Wow.
more or less on track with this, and we could quite possibly be concluding Friday or Monday. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I think that the general tone for Kelsey, they want to play this interview of Kelsey. I feel very, confident in the fact that they tired of her ass. I don't think anybody want to see Kelsey no damn more. After 2 days of dealing with that circus, don't nobody want to sit there and listen to that shit.
Let me ask you a question. Is Kelsey returning tomorrow, or is she
told her
dismissed?
There is a remote chance that we'll call you back. You might have to. He said, but it's a very remote chance. You are done here. Thank you. And she was dismissed and got the fuck up out of Kelsey. Cannot get up out of there fast enough. So I highly doubt that she'll come back on the stand.
Wow. Okay. This is interesting. I like this so far.
We'll see what happens tomorrow.
This. How are you feeling? How are you
feeling
about the whole
being
thing?
On the winning team.
Hey, some people are gonna look at it and be like, well, there are people who are biased, right? And I know I can speak for myself if anyone who's ever thought I was biased or people think I'm biased. Now, I don't ever believe I was ever biased. I was always trying to objectively point out some facts that may not be for a slam dunk case or may not be for a slam dunk narrative. And when I was saying these things, everybody said the only reason why you would point this out is because you're riding Tory's dick or whatever the case is. And I'm like, when y'all see this case and you're seeing it in court, don't like we all I get this whole believe women and whatever, and it should just be one-sided. But if you just seen a case where you guys hated anybody who dissented with anything that was opposed to whatever y'all want to believe, now this case looks so crazy. Ain't it probably a little cause for y'all that in other situations in the future, just chill the fuck out and wait to see what's up?
Absolutely.
Give it a second.
If they ain't learned nothing else from 2022, do not be Megan Thee Stallion or Amber Heard. Don't do it. Don't do it.
What do you think she's coming across like Amber Heard? I know there's no video. Amber Heard, it was full video. We watching all the sniffles, the fake cries, like you know what I mean, the orchestrated bullshit.
I'm in the hallway, with the people there, and she was compared to Amber Heard multiple times. People compared it multiple times and said, with the sound and the crying and the, animations and the back and forth and then comparing the fact that, damn, but I thought that this was so solid. Like bitches came in confident and it's been this and it's been that, only to get in there and, have a nigga looking like Johnny Depp. This shit a fucking fool. And the next black woman is going to have a harder time. The next black woman that needs justice may not get it. True. And that is the most unfortunate thing. And what black people need to do is stop. And I understand what you mean when you say a black woman says something, and then we should stand for that. When a black woman and a black man get into something, these are two people from our community. What we need to stop doing is feeling like we have to choose between our own. We need to wait and see. That's what we need to do. We don't need to immediately believe a black woman just because she's black, and we don't need to immediately believe a black man just because he's black. And a woman's voice, it should not mean more than a man's. It needs to be balanced.
Hey, I think this case is kind of helping us maybe see that. I'm a dude, so I can't do that, and obviously you're a woman, so it means more when you say it. And, obviously, for someone like me, I definitely empathize with a lot of struggles that women go through. But we are in a situation now where, there's so many stories and so many situations where just because one gender said something over the other gender, sometimes we got to look at the details of the case. It's the details of the You get what I mean? Again, In certain situations, it might be like, yo, fuck
Right,
this dude.
right.
This dude is an
Right.
abuser.
Yeah.
And we got to get out of it. But in some cases, if we're seeing it's two different,
Yeah.
it was
Ultimately.
always night and day. It was never like
That's a
it
fact.
was always night and day. It was night and day, and all I remember getting vilified for saying, let's wait and see. What is so bad if we wait? I used to argue in DMs with beautiful black women and be like, yo, listen, let's just wait and see. They're like, why don't you believe?
Yeah, that was a lot, right? So tell me what y'all think about it in them comments, yo. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. So let it be written. So let it be done. Holla at you.